Greetings and welcome to our channel once again. Side by side, we will delve into the complex labyrinth of relationships, presenting you with valuable perspectives and expert advice throughout the journey. Following an exhausting day, Harper settled down to calculate her earnings from the previous day. Her good fortune stemmed from her neighbor, Mrs. Scarlett Harris, who had enlisted her assistance in rearranging items around her house. The toil had left her drained, but Harper found solace in the fact that she was earning extra income since she had moved into the old house. Familiar with Mrs. Harris, a business-savvy woman with an inviting demeanor, Harper had learned that she held a prominent role within the community, commanding recognition and respect from nearly everyone. Over time, Harper uncovered the genuine kindness and compassion beneath Mrs. Harris's professional exterior. Mrs. Harris possessed an insatiable curiosity, coupled with a generous and empathetic nature that harmoniously balanced her interest in others' lives. As they collaborated, Scarlett turned to Harper and remarked, "You've been residing next door for about a year now, haven't you, Harper?" Harper replied, amusement twinkling in Scarlett's eyes, "Yes, you've got quite the memory, Mrs. Harris." With a playful smile, Scarlett quipped, "Well, as a community leader, I make an effort to stay informed about the neighborhood." Pausing, she continued, "Even though you've been here for a while, our paths have crossed only occasionally." Harper chuckled, responding, "That's not too surprising. My days are filled with studying, and evenings are dedicated to work. It feels like I only use my place to sleep. Thankfully, this location comes at a reasonable cost. Living closer to my downtown job would be financially challenging." Intrigued, Scarlett inquired further, "Do your parents live in another city?" Harper's response carried a touch of surprise, "I'm actually an orphan." Concern etched Scarlett's face as she dropped the roll of wallpaper she was holding. "Oh. Harper, I'm truly sorry," she empathized. Harper reassured her, "No need to apologize. I've grown accustomed to it." Acknowledging the difficulty, Scarlett expressed, "It must be tough to feel so alone." Harper admitted, "I've adapted to it. I think my father is out there somewhere, but he left before I was even born. My mother passed away when I was very young. My memories of her are scarce, just a few old photographs." Scarlett offered a genuine gesture of comfort, "Harper, if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to ask. Whether it's utility issues or disputes with neighbors, I'll do my best to assist. I have a few connections that could prove useful." Harper's grateful smile was returned as they resumed their work, completing the furniture rearrangement. Mrs. Harris praised Harper's meticulous effort and, to her surprise, provided not only the agreed-upon payment but also some food. "Take these, dear. My household can't possibly consume all this, even though we're miles apart. My son insists on ordering excessive food for us. He always ensures we're well fed," Scarlett explained. With gratitude, Harper thanked Mrs. Harris and retreated to her own dwelling. Alone, tears finally welled up in her eyes. Life had been an uphill struggle since her mother's passing. The cold, austere atmosphere of the orphanage had been her reality, a place devoid of warmth and love. Everything Harper had achieved was through relentless effort, her sense of justice fueling her ambition to study law. Law school had been a hard-fought victory after high school, and she had tirelessly worked to pay for her education. Mrs. Harris's simple act of kindness that day struck a deep chord within her. It contradicted Harper's belief that concern for others was scarce. On her day off, Harper found herself gazing at baby items in a shop window. She knew her budget was limited, but she had 4 months to prepare. Determined, she researched online for used items, a more affordable alternative for necessities like a crib and stroller. As for her studies, she resolved to take a leave of absence to dedicate herself to her upcoming baby. Venturing into the store, she made a modest purchase of cozy blankets and adorable baby animals. Returning home, she admired her acquisitions, appreciating the newfound support and opportunities that had emerged from the unlikeliest of sources. The doorbell chimed, and it was Mrs. Harris at the threshold. "My dear, I saw you arriving home. I baked an apple pie today and thought you might fancy a slice," she kindly offered. Harper replied, "Oh, Mrs. Harris, you really shouldn't have. But why don't we enjoy some tea together?" Scarlett agreed, "Sure, why not? Things are always more enjoyable when shared." "Andrew, my son, is back at work," Mrs. Harris mentioned as Harper prepared the tea. Observing the spread of baby clothes on the couch, her curiosity piqued. "Harper, who are these for?" she inquired, gesturing towards the newborn attire. A faint blush graced Harper's cheeks as she replied softly, "Those are for my baby. I'm expecting in about 5 months." Mrs. Harris paused, her gaze fixed on Harper for a moment. "And the father, is he still in the picture?" she gently probed. It was the first time someone had directly addressed Harper's ex-boyfriend, Nathan. They settled down with their tea, and Mrs. Harris reassured, "You don't have to talk about it if you're not ready. But know that I'm here to lend an ear or a shoulder whenever you need." With another sigh, Harper braced herself, grappling with the emotions surging within her. Discussing this wasn't going to be effortless. Harper's narrative began in the bustling cafe where she worked. A typical sunlit day found her gracefully navigating between tables, taking orders in her immaculate uniform. The cafe, known as the Cheesecake, was a popular hub, especially on vibrant Friday evenings, abuzz with conversation and laughter. A group of young individuals sat at a distant table, and Harper approached to take their orders. "What took you so long?" "We've been waiting forever," complained one of the girls, although she had only just arrived. Retaining her professional composure, Harper offered a polite smile and apologized for any brief delay, a practice tactic to placate impatient patrons. However, the girl appeared intent on fussing over trivial matters. "All right, Pia, calm down. We literally just got here." "Don't be so harsh," intervened a dark-haired young man from the group, his gray eyes locking onto Harper's as he shared a charming smile. Caught off guard, Harper efficiently recorded their orders and swiftly attended to other duties during their stay. She couldn't shake the feeling that his eyes were tracing her movements as she moved around. Eventually, the young man approached her. He introduced himself as Isaac and, wearing a beguiling smile, asked for her phone number. Harper's courteous decline seemed to catch him off guard, replacing his confident demeanor with confusion, though his interest remained evident. Following that encounter, Isaac sporadically visited the Cheesecake Cafe. He would bring flowers and small gifts, sipping coffee as he patiently waited for Harper's shift to end. Their interactions grew more intimate over time. Harper, typically reserved and quiet, was known for her reliability and level-headedness. She earned respect at the cafe for her dedication to both her studies and work. She was far from impulsive, preferring thoughtful consideration in her decisions. Yet, Isaac's persistent attention caught her off guard, and she soon succumbed to his allure. Isaac, part of the city's privileged elite, swiftly became the center of Harper's universe. Although they had known each other for just 6 months, his discussions of their shared future seemed heartfelt and earnest. He talked of their life after marriage, even mentioning introducing her to his family. Harper began to believe his words, genuinely considering herself the luckiest woman alive. On a particular day, Harper was particularly eager to see Isaac. She had been feeling unwell for a few days, plagued by consistent nausea and fatigue. That morning, a pregnancy test confirmed her suspicion: she was expecting. A mixture of panic, fear, and joy surged through her. The knowledge that she carried Isaac's child filled her with unparalleled euphoria. Rushing to meet Isaac at his workplace, Harper's face glowed with a radiant smile. Amidst the whirlwind of emotions, a touch of worry lingered. Was everything advancing too swiftly? Yet, these concerns were overshadowed by the unfolding realization that Isaac's commitments were turning into reality. Their bond was unbreakable, a perpetual unit destined to raise a child and craft a life brimming with unparalleled happiness. In recent times, Isaac had seamlessly integrated into his father's business, a seamless progression towards assuming control over the family empire someday. The sole heir of affluent parents, he had been furnished with his own office early in his career, a point of pride he often shared. Harper ventured into the office building, expecting to see a secretary at her post. Her surprise was palpable when she discovered the desk unattended. Yet, her heart sank when she stumbled upon Isaac and his secretary in an intimate exchange. The woman sat on his desk, their laughter suspended as they pulled away, their expressions oscillating between surprise and guilt. "Harper, what brings you here?" Isaac stammered, a hint of panic coloring his words. Swiftly regaining his composure, he cleared his throat and introduced the secretary, Lucy, as a childhood friend. Although taken aback, Harper pushed aside the unease swirling within her. She had important news to deliver and was determined not to let anything mar the moment. "I have something to share with you, Isaac," Harper declared. Standing next to Lucy, who now occupied an awkward space, Harper decided the timing wasn't ripe for harboring grudges. She patiently waited for Isaac to dismiss his secretary, and when they were alone, she geared up to unveil her revelation. "So, what's the big news?" Isaac inquired, casually leaning against his desk. An eager smile played on Harper's lips as she responded, "Isaac, you might want to take a seat for this." Isaac, his posture shifting to a more attentive stance, quirked an eyebrow, urging her to proceed. Harper's enthusiasm remained undiminished. "Isaac, remember when I warned you that we were going to have a baby?" Isaac's face registered a mix of shock and surprise, the emotions dancing across his features before words could even be formed. "Wait, you must be mistaken," Isaac countered, his voice hinting at disbelief. "This wasn't what I asked for," Harper replied, her smile strained as a pit formed in her stomach. Isaac looked at her, confusion evident in his expression. "What are you saying, Harper?" "It's our baby, yours and mine," he responded, his tone reflecting a mix of disbelief and frustration. "But why should I be happy about this?" "I wasn't planning on becoming a father anytime soon," Isaac retorted. Harper's voice quivered as she managed to hold back her emotions. "Isaac, you promised we'd always be together. You told me that." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Did you think getting pregnant would force me to stay?" Isaac's words cut through her like a blade. She struggled to catch her breath as pain surged within her chest. She managed to whisper his name, "Isaac." Ignoring her distress, he strode towards the door, slamming it shut behind him. "Harper, go home. I'll call you later. I have a meeting now. You know the way out." Left alone with her thoughts and the harsh reality, Harper washed up, tears streaming down her face as the door's echo faded. That evening, Isaac reached out, but instead of offering comfort or explanation, he demanded that she terminate the pregnancy. Over the next days, he bombarded her with similar messages, becoming an unrecognizable figure from the man she thought she knew. Attempting to reconcile, Harper met with him once more. This time, he handed her money, asserting it was for dealing with the baby problem, and told her never to contact him again. Overwhelmed by emotion, Harper sought solace in sharing her story with Mrs. Harris, hoping to find understanding. "Please don't think less of me," Harper implored, her eyes pleading. Explaining how Isaac's world seemed full of light and happiness, promising an existence free from pain or sorrow, she conveyed how his gentleness and caring demeanor had convinced her of a life of joy. "I believed it all. I believed he was special, different. But I was just naive and ended up hurt." Sympathetic, Scarlett asked, "Did you love him, Harper?" Harper's response was a quiet affirmation, her voice trembling as she continued, "And it felt like Isaac loved me too." In the midst of Harper's admission, Scarlett questioned, "But how could he love you and treat you that way?" Harper's agreement was tinged with confusion. I don't know, Mrs. Harris. I really don't know. Or maybe I don't want to admit the truth, even though it's been denied. Taking a pause, Scarlett cautiously probed, Harper, have you ever considered, well, you know. Harper's shock halted her, and she interjected with fervor, no, absolutely not. This baby is innocent. Why would I even think that? Scarlett reassured her, that's wonderful, Harper. You're a smart girl. Don't worry. Things will get better, I promise. Offering help, she mentioned, you have your own apartment. Let me ask around the neighborhood. Maybe someone has a stroller or a crib they don't need anymore. Kids grow up so fast. People here respect my opinion. Touched by Scarlett's kindness, Harper expressed her gratitude. Thank you, Mrs. Harris. I'll do my best to manage on my own, but knowing I have your support makes life a little easier. With a few things left to sort out, Harper found solace in knowing she had dependable people in her life. The path to rebuilding her life was clearer, and she believed that one day she would be grateful for the kindness of Mr. and Mrs. Harris. Scarlett encouraged her to continue her preparations, readying the house for Harper and the baby's return from the maternity hospital. As she cleaned, organized, and dusted, a leather-bound book accidentally tumbled from the shelf, revealing a neatly written page inside. Oops, Scarlett uttered as she bent down to retrieve the notebook, feeling a pang of guilt as her own name came into view on its pages. The allure of curiosity overpowered her restraint, prompting her to delve into the entry. As she read Harper's sincere words, tears welled up in her eyes, touched by the depth of Harper's affection and love for the Harris family. Within the journal entry, Harper poured out her gratitude, revealing how she prayed for the well-being of the Harris family. Upon Harper's return home with the baby in Mr. Lash's car, his warm words echoed, Caleb, huh? That's a good, strong name. May he grow up to be healthy and bring joy to his mama. He extended his assistance, aiding Harper with the baby and her belongings. Responding with a smile, Harper entered the house, only to be taken aback by the sight before her. The neighbors had truly outdone themselves, adorning the house with blue balloons and white flowers. The air resonated with soft music, and the enticing aroma of homemade food wafted from the kitchen. Harper was swiftly enveloped in Mrs. Harris's embrace, followed by a boisterous kiss on the cheek from Scarlett. Gently, Scarlett took the baby from Harper's arms. Scarlett's face exuded a medley of excitement, happiness, and perhaps a hint of nervousness. Her voice trembled with eagerness as she shared, well, hello, dear. Harper reciprocated the smile, a touch confused, and joined the couple as they retired to a room to converse. In a grave tone, Ben addressed Harper, signaling a serious matter at hand. Apprehension flickered across Harper's face as she asked, is something wrong? Swiftly dispelling the weighty atmosphere, Scarlett playfully chided her husband, Ben, you've scared her now. Why so serious? Her attention returned to Harper, her smile luminous as she revealed, Ben just wanted to let you know that we would love to have you stay with us for a while. Concern and surprise registered on Harper's face as she absorbed the offer. Stay with you? Oh dear, I don't want to be a burden, Harper responded. Scarlett was quick to reassure her, absolutely not. Our house is spacious, and with our son working overseas, his room is vacant. We won't accept a no for an answer. When you're ready and if you want, you can find another place to live. Caught in the swell of emotion, Harper embraced the couple tightly. Mr. Harris chuckled, patting her back, while Mrs. Harris held her for a prolonged moment, the connection palpable, an unspoken agreement of the natural course they were now on. As time progressed, Caleb grew strong and healthy, nurtured by Harper's love and the Harris family's support. Harper resumed her studies, graduating with honors after a successful senior year. Though she eventually moved away from the Harris family, their unwavering support continued. Scarlett assisted in caring for Caleb until Harper found the right nanny. Eventually, Harper ventured to the big city, pursuing her ambitions. Her journey transformed her from a fledgling waitress to a resilient and successful businesswoman. Across 8 years, Harper established her own thriving business, crafting a comfortable life for herself and Caleb. They enjoyed a downtown apartment and a car, ensuring Caleb's bright future in Raleigh, where he excelled academically and embraced an array of enriching activities. Meanwhile, the Harris family's contentment endured in the small town. Their happiness reached new heights when their son returned to oversee his local business. While he didn't reside with them, his frequent visits bridged the distance. One day, Scarlett called out to her husband, drawing his attention to the brand-new black pickup truck parked outside. Playful banter ensued, and Scarlett dispelled any apprehension. "This truck has been here since Saturday. I'm a little nervous. Did you get into a fight with someone at the bar? Again? Don't be ridiculous." "Of course not," her husband chimed in, gazing at the massive vehicle occupying their driveway. "You never know who might have a bone to pick with a couple of old-timers like us." He let out a hearty laugh, amused by his wife's remark, before settling back into his favorite armchair in front of the television. The following day dawned, and the mysterious truck remained parked in front of their house, evoking a sense of unease in the couple. Ben wondered if the truck had been abandoned or potentially stolen overnight. With conjectures and speculations exhausted, the doorbell's chime disrupted the uncertainty. Scarlett answered the door, and her gasp of surprise was followed by a delighted exclamation. Before her stood a radiant young woman, clutching a bouquet of roses. Harper Andes, grinning ear to ear, enveloped Scarlett in a warm embrace. "Oh, our dear Harper," Scarlett exclaimed with a mix of surprise and joy. After a moment, the hug released its hold, and Harper was led inside. "Honey, Adrian's here to see us. Where've you been all this time?" Harper later found Chi at the dinner table, expertly assembling a mound of delectable food on her plate. "Oh, give the girl a break, old man," Scarlett interjected, leaping to Harper's defense. She then good-naturedly grumbled but reached across the table to warmly shake Harper's hand. "We've missed you so much," Ben added, his stern demeanor softening slightly. Harper had long wished to visit the elderly couple, yet her demanding schedule often stood in the way. This time, she was resolute in clearing her calendar, rescheduling meetings, and temporarily sidelining work commitments. Harper had come alone on a 3-day trip, seizing the opportunity to reunite with her cherished friends and her son Caleb. As they sat together, reminiscing and enjoying the couple's loving exchange, Harper's heart brimmed with joy. Their interactions summoned memories of the early days following Caleb's birth. Even the gruffest of men, Ben Harris, had displayed an uncharacteristic tenderness as he cradled the baby, unwilling to relinquish his hold, despite Scarlett's good-humored protests about spoiling the infant. Furthermore, he had meticulously selected and procured all the essentials for the baby, personally delivering them in his aging car. Harper decided to strike up a casual conversation. "By the way, Mr. Harris, how do you like the truck?" Ben appeared confused. "What truck?" he asked. Harper raised an eyebrow, surprised. "You didn't get my letter." The couple exchanged bemused glances. "I'm sorry. I completely forgot to make sure you received the card and letter." "That was thoughtless of me," Harper admitted. She carried on, "Anyway, this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. It's not a grand gesture, but please accept it as a token of my appreciation." The brand new truck parked outside their house was, in fact, Harper's gift to them. A memory from years past resurfaced, a conversation during her pregnancy, when she struggled to balance her job and taking care of her newborn son. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Mr. Harris had quietly expressed his dream of owning a new vehicle to replace his worn-out Honda. He imagined taking Scarlett on drives in a larger truck. Harper hadn't forgotten this sentiment. Now, armed with the means, she was determined to make his dream a reality. Mr. Harris expressed his surprise, while Scarlett was simply speechless, her eyes wide with astonishment. The magnanimous gift had caught them off guard. Despite their protests, Harper stood her ground. Finally, Mr. Harris relented, accepting the keys with a nod of gratitude. "We spent the whole day wondering who could have left a truck in front of our house." "Oh, Harper, you truly surprised us." "We can't thank you enough," they expressed with radiant smiles, the genuine sentiment behind the gesture resonating more powerfully than the gift itself. While the Harris couple could afford a new car on their own, their son Andrew had frequently suggested they part with their trusty old Honda for a more modern vehicle. Yet, the couple steadfastly declined his offer, preferring the comfort of their familiar ride. Mr. Harris had sometimes playfully shared his gripes about the car's outdated features, not out of a genuine desire for an upgrade, but to reassure Harper. He understood the importance of maintaining appearances, often humorously engaging in complaints about their aging car to align with Harper's social status. The exchange left everyone feeling a buoyant sense of excitement and connection. Ben embarked on a spin around the neighborhood, savoring the exhilaration of driving his new truck. Meanwhile, the women found solace on the porch, engaging in a relaxed and enjoyable conversation. "How have you been, dear? Your son must be quite the young man by now," Scarlett inquired with genuine interest. "Everything's fine, Mrs. Harris," Harper responded in a somewhat robotic tone. Scarlett's curiosity persisted. "And Caleb? He's grown up a lot. He's responsible, intelligent, the rock in my life and the source of my happiness," Harper revealed with a blush tinting her cheeks. Scarlett raised an eyebrow, gently prodding for more. Harper hesitated, her voice softer. "Well, there's someone new. A business associate of mine. He seems interested in me. We've had dinner several times under the pretense of discussing business, but these dinners have felt more like dates." Scarlett leaned in, showing her support. "And how do you feel about him?" she inquired. Harper's conflicted emotions were apparent. "He's attractive, incredibly kind, respectful, caring, and witty. Our conversations are always enjoyable," she began. "But I don't want to rush into anything, especially considering Caleb is in the picture. Don't let outdated norms hold you back from happiness," Scarlett advised sternly. After a contemplative pause, she sighed and added, "Ever since my son returned, I've imagined introducing you two. You would have made a wonderful couple. But it seems he has different plans." Harper chuckled softly, resting her head on Scarlett's shoulder, buoyed by her words and the warmth of affection she had always shown. When Mr. Harris returned from his joyride, his face radiated happiness. He couldn't stop gushing about the experience of driving the truck Harper had gifted him. Harper then made another gesture of kindness, extending an offer to the couple to move into her town home. The Harris couple expressed their heartfelt gratitude but politely declined, explaining their contentment with their lifelong home in the quiet town. As they bid Harper goodbye, they made her promise to visit more often, insisting she bring Caleb along next time. Back in town, Harper dedicated her days to work and her evenings to spending time with Caleb. However, the heightened attention from Ryan, her business partner, did not escape her notice. He showered her with rare theater and opera tickets, and he even sent her favorite flowers. His thoughtfulness impressed her, but she hesitated to reveal the most important part of her life to him. One day, she decided to confront the issue directly. She invited Ryan over for coffee, looking at the smiling man across from her. Summoning her courage, Harper began, "Ryan, I have something important to share with you." Ryan smiled warmly, giving her his full attention. "Yes, Harper, I'm all ears." Taking a deep breath, Harper gathered her resolve. "Before our relationship deepens any further, I want you to know that Ryan gently interjected, "You don't have to say it if you don't feel the same way." Harper felt her cheeks warm, realizing she had misunderstood him. No, that's not it at all. I actually like you very much. As the words tumbled out, Harper surprised herself with her boldness. An instant of silence followed, and as she grappled with her confession, an anxious pang seized her. Trying to ease the tension, she chuckled nervously, "Well, that came out faster than I thought." Ryan exhaled, a relieved smile playing on his lips. Seeking clarity, he posed the question, "So, what else do you want me to know?" Harper's concerns spilled forth, "I have a son. He's 8 years old. Ryan, you're successful, handsome, with a promising future. You could have anyone. Why choose a single mother with a child? Wouldn't you find someone more suitable, without the baggage?" Ryan's gaze remained steady on Harper as he took a deep breath. "I want you to know that I'm fully aware of the responsibility that comes with dating a single mother," he said. Harper's eyes met his, filled with earnest concern. Ryan continued, "I'm interested in you because of who you are. Your past doesn't define you. And I respect and admire the love you have for your son." Harper's heart swelled at his words, realizing that perhaps Ryan was different from anyone she had known. As she processed his response, he asked, "Do you remember the first time we met at the business center? I was utterly captivated by you, so entranced by your presence, that I scarcely registered a word you spoke about our potential partnership that day at the business center. My team had to fill me in on the details later that night. I found myself wanting to know everything about you, and it was on that very night that I learned about Caleb," Ryan confessed. Harper's expression oscillated between astonishment and disbelief as she processed Ryan's revelation. "But what I couldn't have foreseen was how deeply I would come to care for your son," Ryan continued. "Initially, it was just curiosity about the two of you. So, I arranged to meet Caleb. Yet, over time, I found myself excitedly attending his sports games and hanging out with him and his friends." His voice softened as he spoke about the young boy. "Eventually, I opened up to him about my feelings for his mother and asked if I could court you. To my surprise, he gave me his blessing." Harper's mouth fell open in shock. "What?" she exclaimed, caught off guard. Ryan quickly backtracked, "I'm sorry, I should have talked to you first. I hope you're not upset." As the surprise washed over her, Harper began to piece together various hints she had missed before. Toys appearing mysteriously, Caleb's unusual expenses. Now she realized that Ryan had been behind it all. Initially, a spark of annoyance flared at Caleb's secret keeping, but when she met Ryan's earnest gaze, her frustration dissolved, replaced by a tender smile. Before her was someone who genuinely cared for her and her son, a rarity in her life. While other men had expressed interest in her over the years, none had succeeded in gaining the trust of both her and Caleb. And so, after 9 years of guarding her heart, Harper found herself opening up to the possibility of love once again, love that encompassed not only her, but also her son. As Ryan's presence became more prominent in their lives, Harper's world bloomed with vibrancy. His affection and care brought a newfound joy to each day. It wasn't just Harper who cherished him, her son Caleb had developed a deep fondness for Ryan as well. To Caleb, Ryan was both a best friend and a role model. One day, Ryan suggested introducing Harper to his parents, and he planned an elegant dinner at a high-end restaurant to mark the special occasion. The evening arrived, and Harper, accompanied by Ryan and Caleb, awaited the arrival of Ryan's parents, who were running a bit late. Anticipation made Harper's nerves flutter. This was a significant milestone in their relationship. As an older couple entered the restaurant, Ryan greeted them with a warm smile and guided them to their table. Harper's eyes widened in disbelief as she recognized the familiar faces before her, Scarlett and Ben Harris, the kind-hearted couple she held dear. A mixture of astonishment and joy swept over her, realizing that the parents of the man she loved were also individuals she deeply cared for. The Harris couple, equally astonished, barely had a moment to react before Harper, Caleb, and the Harrisas enveloped each other in a circle of happiness. Hugs, laughter, and tears of joy flowed freely among them, creating a heartfelt and surprising reunion. Ryan, initially taken aback, soon realized that Harper was the very woman his mother had once tried to introduce him to, a suggestion he had brushed off. Amid the revelry, the evening unfolded as a delightful affair filled with animated laughter and sincere conversation. Scarlett and Ben regaled everyone with stories of Ryan's childhood, and Ryan took pleasure in witnessing Harper's reactions. The dinner marked not only the intertwining of their lives, but also the convergence of past connections and future potentials, all woven into a beautiful tapestry of shared love and happiness. Listening intently as Ryan fondly spoke of his parents, Harper recognized the deep admiration and pride he held for them. For Caleb, the evening was equally enjoyable, surrounded by love that flowed generously toward him. As the night came to a close, after savoring a sumptuous meal and engaging in spirited conversations, Scarlett affectionately clasped Harper's hand. "We're so thankful to have you in our lives, dear. You've always been like a daughter to us," Scarlett expressed warmly before embracing Harper. Touched by the sentiment, Harper was overwhelmed with emotion. A wave of happiness and gratitude surged through her, knowing she was now part of a family that cherished her. After dinner, Ryan insisted on driving his parents home, brushing aside their protests. Meanwhile, Harper and Caleb hailed a cab, with Ryan assuring them he'd catch up with them shortly. As the cab pulled up, Harper bid a fond farewell to the Harises on the street. Ryan approached, opening the car door for Harper and Caleb. "I'll be with you soon," he promised, giving Harper a tender kiss and playfully tugging at Caleb's hair. He closed the door, turning to the taxi driver. "So, where can I take you tonight?" he asked. Harper provided the address, and the driver's recognition stirred a sense of disturbance within him. "No, it can't be," he thought to himself as he started the car, yet curiosity led him to steal a glance at the rearview mirror. And there they were, those familiar green eyes. An internal struggle raged within him as his suspicions solidified. It was indeed Harper in the back seat. The same woman he had left pregnant 9 years ago, but now she was almost unrecognizable. Impeccably groomed, stylish, and radiating an aura of confidence that spoke volumes about her resilience and strength. It was clear that she had weathered the storm and emerged victorious from the whirlwind of emotions. Isaac drove on, occasionally casting glances at the woman and her young companion in the rearview mirror. His gaze then shifted to the boy sitting beside her, his features drawing Isaac's attention. Eventually, his eyes welled up with tears. In that moment, he was transported back to the days of carefree luxury, when he lived off his parents' wealth. However, life had humbled him, transforming him into an ordinary man earning a living as a cab driver. They arrived at their destination, and as Caleb stepped out of the cab, Harper remained seated, attending to the fare. Isaac, hidden beneath his hat, avoided looking at her. Harper sensed something odd, and upon closer examination, she recognized the contours of his face. "Isaac, is that you?" she asked slowly. He finally looked up, his eyes filled with tears. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and the weight of the past hung between them. After a moment of silence, Isaac managed to stammer, "Hello, Harper. I'm so sorry. You hurt me, but I survived. I wish you happiness." With those words, he extended an olive branch. Harper reached into her purse and handed Isaac all the cash she had. Stepping out of the cab, she took Caleb's hand, and together they walked back to their home. "Mom, was that someone you know?" Caleb asked, noticing his mother's lingering moment in the cab. She offered a gentle smile. "Yes, sweetheart. Just someone who could use a little kindness." As they retreated into their house, the encounter left a trail of emotions and memories in its wake, a chance for closure and a new beginning. If you enjoyed this story, consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell so you never miss another tale. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments.